So, as Chad mentioned, my name is Humphrey. My company is called Whitegate PR, and we specialize in marketing and public relations in the consumer products and services industry, with a specific focus in the pet industry. About maybe 60 to 70% of our clients are in the pet industry, and the others are in consumer products and services. So anything from bars and restaurants to wine brands to pet products itself. Do any of you have a pet? Oh, a lot of you. That's fantastic. All right, so you kind of know what we're talking about here. I guess a little overview of how public relations works. Usually what the kind of strategy or the process is I meet with the client and try to identify what the target market is. Whether it's women between a certain age bracket, men in a certain age bracket, maybe it's a specific income level, maybe it's region-based, maybe it's international. Who are we trying to reach? One of my clients is a bar and restaurant in Long Island City, in Queens. So our specific target that we're trying to go after is mainly, and it's also a comedy venue, is mainly men 21 to 35. So part of that process is finding out what are those people, probably a lot of you are in that category, is finding out what are you reading, watching, listening to, how are you getting your information, and how can we get in those channels. So that's kind of one example. With some pet product clients, it can be a different process depending on if it's a company that sells direct to consumer or business to business. I know one of you had a question about what is the best way to market your business, whether it's from B2C or B2B. And it depends on what your item is, what you're trying to sell, and who buys it. I have a client that's called the Trimline Veterinary Recovery Collar. Have any of you seen the hard plastic cone?
Yeah.
Collar of Doom. The hard plastic cone that dogs and cats have to wear if they have a injury or surgery. My client makes a soft glue alternative. So while we want pet parents all across the country to know about it, we don't sell direct to consumer. They don't sell direct to consumer, you get it at your veterinarian. So that's a B2B operation. So the target audience there is veterinarians. What are they watching, listening, and reading? They're reading vet magazines. They're reading DVM magazine. They're watching veterinary television. There's different channels that can go after that way. Also partnering up with different associations that they may be members of. Strategic partnerships is a huge thing that I like to kind of get into. Creating strategic alliances with businesses that make sense for that person to refer each other to, or associations that a company can be part of. For the Trimline, it's the National Association of Veterinarians. There's also a veterinarian office manager association and things like that, to really get in front of those people in the newsletters that they're reading, etc. For Lonnie's business, for example, she has a pet care business, so good strategic alliances for her are veterinarians and other people in a specific location, like the Staten Island area where her company is based, that would be interacting with other pet parents that come for business to her. Another huge part of the whole PR marketing strategy is social media. The PR landscape is changing, and it has changed significantly over the past couple of years with social media, because that's how a lot of people are getting their information. It's a lot of, probably, how many of you have a Facebook page? Okay, 99%. That's why social media is, you hear about it everywhere you turn. It's like social media. Businesses are creating fan pages on there. Depending on who you're trying to reach, fan pages can be extremely successful. For a bar or restaurant, it's a great way to communicate events that you have going on, specials you have going on, activities, show pictures of the food, show pictures of a fun event that you had, and that really helps it go viral because people want to share it with their friends. If they went somewhere and they're tagged in a picture, they want to share that experience with their friends, and it helps really grow the list. With something like a trim line, we do have a Facebook page, we do have a Twitter feed. It's not a crucial part of the marketing campaign because a lot of veterinarians are not in front of their Facebook all day. That's not really where they're at. It helps kind of get the word out to consumers to show them how they could use the trim line, post articles and things like that, which is also why PR and social media go well together. On a fan page on Facebook or on Twitter, you need to have constant information that's interesting to post. So when you get an article in the New York Times, or you get an article on Time Out New York, or wherever it might be, you can share it on Facebook and kind of like keep that activity going. And it's a way to disseminate information to your friends, followers, whoever. Email marketing is also a huge topic. It's slowly becoming less popular with social media. Everyone's bombarded with tons of emails every day. I'm sure all of you are. I know I am. And kind of getting into your Facebook, that might be something that you check more regularly, and it might not get dismissed as just another email marketing message that you're getting. One of you had a question about something about getting 10 messages a day. I think that number is way too low. We all get thousands of messages every single day from different brands trying to get our attention. Something that I really try to focus on is kind of like one of the marketing principles is 7 touches, that you have to touch someone 7 times in order to get their attention. In the past year or two, it's really changed to about 12 because we're getting so many messages. And what I mean by a touch is maybe you'll see a billboard of a specific brand, and then you'll see a commercial about it. Then you'll get a Facebook invite to be a fan of that page. Then you'll read an article about it in an email, maybe in a newspaper that you read. Maybe a friend will tell you about it. Maybe a year later, you'll hear about it on the radio. Maybe you'll see it on someone else's Twitter feed. These are all examples of touches that, how a brand could reach you. If it's a clothing brand, it could be that you see a friend or you see a colleague wearing that brand, and then it jogs your memory again. It could be that brand sponsors an event that you go to, and you see their logo somewhere. So traditionally, while it's been 7, with the mass amount of information that everyone's getting every day, it's becoming a little bit higher. That we need to see that brand a few more times to really remember what it is and maybe incorporate it into our lives if it's something that we would need or want. What else? Someone had a question about Google Analytics and tracking. That is a huge, tracking is huge. With public relations and marketing, if you can't, my philosophy is if you can't track it, it's really not worth doing, because then you have no idea if it worked. If you put a campaign out there and you can't measure its success, what's really the point of doing it? You don't know if you should do it again. You don't know how to change it, so you can do it better next time. So with tracking, it just depends on the medium. Google Analytics is a fantastic tool. Basically, when you have a website, you can link it up with your website. It's free to implement. You can manage many different websites on one account. But the beauty of it is that you can look at who are the top referring sites that are sending traffic to your website. That's my favorite one, because you can see, did a strategic partnership that we set up, maybe a link exchange, is that working? Or what is this website that's sending us, that's our top 3 website, how did they find out about us, and what can we do to make them number 1? If they already like us, if they already like this brand and they're sending people our way, let's make this bigger. Or you can see, I have a partnership with something called Daily Kibble. Have any of you ever heard of Daily Candy? Just one? Daily Candy is a daily women's email that talks about different cool openings and things going on in different.
Not just a woman. Don't make me out to be some freak.
Well, Daily Kibble is a similar idea. It's like the daily scoop of all things pets, and it's a free email newsletter that goes out every day. So I have a partnership with them that they feature. They feature all of my pet clients at least, once on a regular basis. So all of my clients that have set up Google Analytics, which I really try to encourage. There's a few that don't have it. We can see how much traffic came from that on that day, how many people came from Daily Kibble. And throughout the week, if an email went out on Monday from Daily Kibble, maybe throughout that week, usually within 2 or 3 days, people will go click on their email, go to the site, and then click through to the company website.
This is great with the analytics. I'm kicking it down to the bar owner or somebody that's not technologically savvy. Is this something that they don't have the vision to understand, or is this something that you're lecturing your customers and saying you need to do this, or is this something that you're doing for them?
Both, all of the above. Same with social media. The longer you've had Google Analytics on your website, the more information that we can get. Also with this, there's, analysis paralysis. If you're not going to do anything with the information, why capture it? Basically, whenever I'm working with a client, there's a few things that I like them to do right away. One is set up Google Analytics, and if they don't, or they don't know how, or there's always issues with web designers. It's a common ground. Then sometimes I'll just set it up. I'll just incorporate it into the accounts I manage just so I can see what's going on. And some of them already have it set up, and they know how to log in there, and they know how to look for what they're looking for. One of my bar and restaurant clients is super savvy on Facebook. She doesn't touch Google Analytics and she doesn't touch Twitter, so I kind of help her with those areas. It's just kind of wherever the needs are. Also, Google Alerts is huge for tracking. That's another thing. Google's great. It's free, it's comprehensive. So for Google Alerts, you can go in there and type in the name of your brand. You could, for example, Trimline Veterinary Recovery Collar. You put it in quotations, and then anytime that phrase of 4 words appears online anywhere, Google Alerts will send you an email. So if someone's writing about you, if someone's blogging about you, whether it's positive or negative, you see what it is. And you can follow up with them. You can if someone just found your product and wrote a great review, you can follow up with them and see how you can work with them more. Now you have an advocate that you know about. And if someone wrote something negative, you can also address that. It's just being aware of what people are saying about you. The important thing with the Google Alerts is that if you put something general in there, if I just put in veterinary and sign up for Google Alerts, my inbox would be full with hundreds of thousands of articles about things with the word veterinary in them. So that's just kind of you have to see how popular the name of your company is and how specific you want to make it. You could even do it for yourselves. You could put your names in Google Alerts and see what people are saying about you for your own personal brand identity.
I have a Google